Hey everybody, Questwise here, and for this week's Palladium Books video, I want to talk about, rifts, but not rifts as a whole. I want to talk about one particular occupational character class, and it was the very first class when I learned how to play rifts. This was one of my first games that I was ever introduced to. I actually started off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness, as well as Heroes Unlimited. This was the second one that I had jumped into. Was within a month or so of learning the TMNT game. The very first character class I ever played was a Mind Melter, and had a blast with it. Even though the person who taught me said, "Oh, Mind Melters are dumb, and you're never going to get very far." You know, we had another character who's playing the Glitter Boy, and he's going to outshoot you every time, and you'd never be able to do cool stuff in the game with a Mind Melter. And for whatever reason, had a lot of sort of animosity towards the Mind Melter class. But I insisted and wanted to play one anyway. He let me do it, and I had a blast. We had a very great time playing that game, and I just kind of showed the flexibility of the Mind Melter. So I wanted to kind of go back and revisit that today in the Ultimate Edition, and just how flexible that character class can be, or occupational character class can be. And some of the cool things that you can do with it as well, too, and why it's so cool. So let's flip open the book here. Save the page for the Mind Melter. So you'll find the Mind Melter occupational character class on page 150 of the main rulebook for rifts. And aside from the really awesome art and stuff, the Mind Melter is probably one of the most powerful psychics in the game. And if you like the idea of playing a psychic character, there's several of them to choose from in here. But again, today I want to focus on the Mind Melter because it's the very first one I ever played, and the most fun I can remember having played a game of rifts. So what's cool about the Mind Melter? Well, the Mind Melter is a master of psionics. He starts off with probably the most potent number of abilities, as well as the highest ISP, or inner strength points, as well. So you start off with 3d6 times 10 ISP as your base, plus your mental endurance stat. So you're going to start off with anywhere, just, if your mental endurance was 0, which will never be, but you're just through the ISP base itself, you're going to start with anywhere between 30 to 180 points of ISP, which is amazing. Plus your mental endurance stat as well as 2, and then you get plus 10 ISP each time you go up in level. So you're going to start off with a ton of these inner strength points to fuel your psychic abilities. The other thing that's really cool about the Mind Melter is that he starts off with a literal crap ton of psychic abilities. So you start off with, down here in the corner here, it's kind of hard to read on the video, but you start off at level 1 knowing Alter Aura, Mind Block, See Aura, and Sixth Sense. And then you get 3 additional powers from each of the 4 psionic power categories. So there are some, and I'll flip those in a few minutes and kind of show you what's available there as well too. But there are some amazing things. There's a few of them that are restricted in the super category, that are kind of restricted until you reach 2nd or 3rd level. But that's very, very minor, and you have access to a ton of other really great abilities. One of the other cool things about the Mind Melter, and this is what really helped when we were playing our game way back in the day. This is probably 1992, 93 maybe. Of course, we didn't have this at the Ultimate Edition. We had the original edition. But what really, really helped back then was that we were playing near an area where there was a ley line, and I was able to feed off of that and increase my damage and my psychic abilities by feeding off of that ley line, which was really helped in the battle that took place as our main sort of part of the adventure. You, as a Mind Melter, you do start off with a low number of skills. You don't get a ton of other skills like some of the other classes, like so for instance, like the Wilderness Tracker, I'm drawing a blank on all these now, but some of these other Wilderness Scout, You're going to get more skills via that. You will get more skills as, scholars and that kind of stuff as well too. So you start off with a low number of skills as a mind melter, but it's explained to you in here because you spent so much time trying to perfect your psychic abilities that you have more invested in that than into actual skills. So if you're looking for a very highly skilled character, I would go with like the rogue scientist or one of those other character classes as well. But if you want to go for raw psionic power and strength, and you're interested in all things psionic, this is the character class to play. You do get your basic, choice of skills and stuff. A group of 6 secondary skills as well too. And a nice section here on equipment and the cool stuff that you can have. You also start with a vehicle, which is kind of nice as well too. You get some extra money. In psionics, they don't blend very well with cybernetics, but it is possible that you could get one later. You don't start with one now. This also tells you that another great place to look for character classes, occupational character classes, OCCs, is in the Psyscape World Book as well too. And I'll show you another trick as well too at the end of this on where you can feed into some more of the cool psychic abilities as well. So let's flip back here to Psionic Powers, and I'll show you some of the cool stuff that you can get. So over here on page 164 of the core rule book, you get a cool list of all the psychic powers, and it breaks them down by category. So you're starting off with healing. You got physical, sensitive, and then super psionics, which these are the ones that they're higher point based, ISP point based, but are a lot more powerful than some of these others. There are some great psionic abilities throughout all of these categories, though. In particular, detect psionics is always a nice one to have, in case you run into kind of crazy things like that. You can also find out other psychics and stuff in the area. Increased healing is always a nice one. Let's see what else is in here. Stop bleeding is a great one as well too, for yourself and for other party members. This is also kind of a nice feature. Restore PPE. It's kind of a nice thing that you can have. You convert some of your ISP into PPE, which is potential psychic energy, and you can transfer that energy to another person. So you can almost act as sort of a battery for any magic users in your party, because they feed off of the PPE, the potential psychic energy, and you can actually kind of convert some of your ISP over as like sort of a living battery and push it off onto them so that they have more abilities to cast spells and stuff as well too. We've got Mind Block, which always is a good one. Night Vision comes in handy a lot of times. Some of these others too, depending on how your group plays, resist thirst, resist hunger, resist fatigue. Depending on how your group plays, these can become very, very important as well too. Telekinesis is always a nice one. Be able to kind of bring things to you psychically, psionically. But there are some, using this one as an attack is not so great. There are some really better ones further back. Telekinetic Leap, Telekinetic Punch, and Push. Again, these are a little bit more physical abilities that kind of get you. Telekinetic Punch is kind of nice. Although I believe it's only an SDC power. Yeah, so it's just it's SDC damage, structural damage capacity. So not MDC. So you're not going to be punching, powered armored robots around with this. But it is nice if you just got, in a normal scrap. One of my other favorites here, and we get into the sensitive section here, Astral Projection is always really nice, and it gives you a nice full page description on how that works too, so there's just no confusion on how that's used. Commune with spirits. Machine Ghost is nice. You can talk to machines and figure out information that way. That's the great thing about the Mind Melter too, is it's a very versatile character class in the fact that you can use it for a number of different areas of thing. It doesn't have to just be combat. It doesn't have to just be helping other party members, but it can also be, sort of on a techno wizard type of a side thing where you're kind of tapping into machines and stuff as well too, which is a really cool, you're very versatile, and you can become a very useful member of any kind of adventuring party as well too. Object Read is really, really awesome, where you grab something. It's also known as psychometry. You grab an object in it, and you can kind of see its past and where it came from, things that happened to it in the past as well too. Let's see, what else do we got here? Remote viewing's cool. Sense time. Sense magic is always very useful. Sense See the Invisible is a great one as well too. And then we get into the super psionic section of some of these powers. So these are the more powerful powers. That makes sense. And they cost a lot more. As you can see, some of the ISP, well, that one's only 6, but some of these are, 22. This one varies. Electrokinesis, hydrokinesis. This is power over electricity. This is power over water. Hypnotic suggestion. Some of the cooler ones are back here. Psi Shield is always a good one. Psi Sword is an awesome one as well too, though it's not one that you can take at first level. I think it becomes available at level 3, but still, there's so many other cool things in here that you're not going to really miss it. Great description on like pyrokinesis, power over fire, and then telekinesis super, which is the kind of one you want to looking for. This one can actually be boosted up to do. Is this one right? Yeah, to do mega damage. You can hurl giant objects at people and stuff. Then there's this one. This one's kind of one of my favorite ones ever. Telekinetic acceleration attack. It costs 10 SDC, structural damage capacity points. Or it costs 10 ISP for SDC damage and 20 ISP for mega damage ability. So you can choose which one you want to do. But basically, it's sort of like a psionic railgun. It picks up objects from around you, little tiny objects, whether it be stones or bullets or anything, little pieces of plastic, anything that's around you. It basically summons them up and hurls them at a target, and can do 2d4 times 10 SDC damage, or if you want to pump it up to the mega damage, it does 3d6 plus 4 mega damage as well too. So very, very cool. It's a little bit short range. It's only 50 feet, but man, it's a cool attack. It's probably one of my favorite psionic powers ever. So it's like a psionic railgun, and you're just launching these particles at your opponent. Telemechanics, again, like I said, you can kind of interact with machines and stuff as well too. Makes you very versatile. Let's see, telemechanic paralysis, telemechanic mental operation, and then possession. So basically, you can take machines and kind of either possess them and use them as you would using your brain and your statistics. You can operate a machine this way. It could be anything from like opening a door or driving some kind of vehicle or whatnot. And then paralysis, you can actually shut down a machine as well too. So that's a list of what's psionic powers in the core rulebook. But earlier I wanted to show you something cool. If you're going to play a mind melter, I would highly recommend, and this is only again if the game master allows it, but most of them are pretty cool about that. I would highly recommend getting a copy of this book, which is a Rift's Game Master Guide. And this is less. I mean, there's some great stuff in here just for game masters, but this is a collection of stuff from all across the Rift's lines, and it collects them all into one big book here, and it just gives you tons and tons of stuff. So all the skills are listed in here from across a variety of different things, different supplements and stuff, combat techniques and stuff as well. There's also weapons and stuff in here from all sorts of different. It's just a great resource to have for game masters and players alike. But what I wanted to show you today is that there's a cool section in here on psionics and psionic checklists. This is drawn from the core rulebook. It's also drawn from the Psyscape sourcebook and the Rift's Africa sourcebook as well too. So you get a bunch of psionic powers. This is a nice, great place to have them all contained into just one space. So all the powers from the Ultimate Edition are in here, as well as from those other two sources as well. And again, it breaks them down by category, so you're going to see a lot of the same ones we saw before: Detect Psionics, Exorcism, Healing Touch, that kind of stuff. But it doesn't add in a whole bunch of others, new powers from some of those other source books as well too. So if you want to play a Mind Melter, I think this is a great source book to have, because you really want to have some of these. This is the Mind Bleeder. This is, I believe, this is from Psyscape as well too, but I think this was in the Rift's Africa supplement as well too. But some of those powers in here as well, and I think that these would feed over very well into a Mind Melter as well, being a master of the psionic realms and stuff. So, Neuro Touch, Neural Strike. These would be really, really cool ones to have. So a nice complete place to have all the psychic abilities is listed right here in the Game Master Guide. But I highly recommend, if you want to try out something new, if you haven't tried the Mind Melter before, do so, man. It's such a cool character class to play. Whether you want to do it as just a one-shot kind of adventure to try it out, or if you're looking to start a new campaign and want to try something a little bit different. That's it for this week. I'm Questwise, and until next time, we're out.